everybody,
Happy Monday.
and welcome to another edition of the Real Estate Backstory. We do this every Monday morning. We kind of start off your week with all the comings and goings of things happening in the real estate world. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
I'm going to bring all of our friends here on Facebook in here with us, and we kind of want to jump in and immediately kind of start talking about some things that we've kind of seen kind of going on out there in the marketplace right now. One of the biggies is if you've been out showing property, you got to pay attention to what's happening around you. The use of, I'm not going to say spying devices,
Smart
but
devices.
smart device. That's a good one. Smart devices are really on the rise. So we just had a one agent this past weekend went out showing homes, and in every room of the home they had a different Alexa device. And when Alexa turns on, the little light turns on, and so they just found that every room that they were going into, someone was turning on the Alexa and they're listening to it. And we've had horror stories, maybe not horror stories, but definitely stories where agents will stand on the front porch and talk about the offer they're going to make on the home, and meanwhile the sellers are sitting on the Ring camera listening in the whole time. So you really got to make sure that when you're showing property that you need to understand, act, and honestly believe that any time that you're showing property, you're probably on camera or being listened to. I don't think it's these are people's homes. They can do what they want, especially here in Georgia. There's no restrictions on what you can't do in your own home. Might be creepy. It's definitely creepy.
Well, not necessarily creepiness, but I will tell you that if you are going to be competitive and you offer, keep that between you and the agents. Go in there and look at the property and see what you like and you don't like about it. And should you place furniture in a house? We all operate differently. So just kind of advise your client, if they are really wanting to make an offer, let's keep it between showings on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be smart. Keep your excitement contained, those kind of things.
You should be excited.
Oh, I know, no, I mean, I
It's
get
always
that, but
exciting.
not while you're in the house. Mum's the word when you're in the house.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Okay.
it's just I don't want you to be negotiating from a difficult point of view just because someone's been listening in on your conversation, kind of thing.
Correct.
So,
The funny thing, he'll be the one to say excited.
yeah, it's true. All right, so right now we're seeing a ton of commission sharing sites are kind of popping up, and
Yes, I mean, Alan.
well, like with the new rule change says that MLSs will no longer display offers of compensation per the NAR settlement. And so now there's all these commission sharing sites and these kind of things popping up, and things like Nest Hook, Listing Split, that kind of thing that's kind of happening. We really, at least here in Georgia, are not really expecting to see a lot of that information. Matter of fact, and well, maybe not we're not expecting to see that information. We're not expected to have to really utilize a lot of those sites, in part because Georgia MLS and FMLS both have kind of talked about what they're going to be doing.
Well, FMLS is non-NAR affiliate, so they are not abide by the lawsuit and the settlement guideline. While Georgia MLS is owned by a board of realtor, but they're kind of pseudo independent from the board of realtor. It's just the ownership of it, not necessarily the operation of it.
Right. And so, in FMLS is saying, listen, we're going to be adding in a compensation as well as a commission. Like you're going to be able to see compensation and commission in FMLS. In Georgia MLS, they're going to be changing the verbiage a little bit to
Right. Instead of commission, they're actually now say compensation, because I think as people in general, they understand what compensation means. That means that you have earned your keep.
Yeah.
Where a commission sometimes is a sale relate, even though we're in Salesforce, but the fact is sale is typically tied at something value. So when we say compensation, we are providing them value versus commission to where it's subject to interpretation.
Now, that being said, we are still big believers right now. You know, the new GAR contracts are out. So please make sure that, you know, our recommendation is include your offers of compensation as part of, you know,
Well,
use special step 620.
yes, 620 should be your best friend. And like I said, as we move from today to until information did drop dead implementation day, there may be things that are going to change. So please
Yeah.
just listen carefully and follow us. We'll update you as soon as we get the information.
Yeah.
But we're doing a bunch of lunch and learn before the rollout in July. And so please join us on those lunch and learn. Otherwise, you might be working for free.
Well, your two dates here are July 1st is when the new GAR forms come out.
And once the GAR form comes out, just remember, per copyright law, you cannot use the old form anymore.
Yeah. That doesn't mean you have to redo the contracts you have.
It
We
does
don't have to
not.
do that.
What was previously stands.
Yeah. And then on the August 17th, 18th, right in there is when all the proposed changes from the settlement are supposed to really kick in.
That's the
Yep.
information last day
Yep.
Of the old business, first day of new business.
So here in the Atlanta area, we have the third longest commute in the nation. And I only say this because this affects overall housing choices. Like we are like the epitome of sprawl. We will drive. The average commute in Atlanta is 126 minutes a day, right? That's 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
A day. And so we don't like we
Depend
will
on the
drive.
traffic.
Yeah, I mean, well, it is really dependent on traffic because the you know, the other interesting statistic that comes to play with this one is that even though we have a 2 hour commute every day, we go 36 or 33 miles. So yeah, traffic is definitely a booger, right? So that's the one that's getting to
It's
us.
a
But
good day when you travel for 1 minute per mile. So
you know, sometimes this is one of those things that, especially talking to folks who aren't from Atlanta, and like if you're from Atlanta, if you live in Atlanta, like we drive everywhere. We got no problem driving, and you know, like we have friends of ours, like oh yeah, we work in Kennesaw. I'm like, holy smokes, kind of thing. But that's just a normal thing here. People who come from out of town, they're like, you do what? Yeah, we just drive everywhere. So it does come into play when we're looking at when I mean when our clients are looking at choices for housing and things like that. Local folks, we
we
gonna
don't care.
we don't care. We're gonna drive.
Real
Exactly.
rate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. I think that was directed at me. It's not wrong, right? So overall, you know, right now the newest consumer reports are out, and it says that only 14% of consumers say that it is a good time to buy a home. And we need to make sure that we are understanding that actually right now things are much better for buyers. And this is I can't change consumer sentiment, but I can present the facts, and that's what we're really kind of encouraging you to do as well, is to be able to present the facts about what's really going on in our marketplace. So like
It's about education. It's about educating your client and knowing the market
yeah,
and let them know what's typical, but what's currently the market's doing. Because my brother was in the fence about buying a home, and I told him, I said, listen, you know, you can pay 100% interest of someone else's loan, or you can pay yours. And you know, and once again, as a house appreciate 4 to 5% average, depending on your geographic area.
it's actually much less right now.
It is a little less, but it doesn't matter because they always will increase.
It will over time,
And
absolutely.
you can marry the house and date it rate. What that means is that when the interest rate drop, refi.
Well, we don't know when that's going to be.
Yes, well, right now
But that
we
being
have
said, right? You know, I mean, you got to look at it right now. The consumer price index is dropping, right? So inflation is coming down. Now, overall, the general consumer sentiment is inflation is outrageous. It's actually coming down. It's I mean, like it's been trending down.
inflation's down, but the cost of living
Well, but see,
has not for most people.
right, but what inflation down means is it's lower than it was last year. It doesn't mean that the price is going back to where it was 5 years ago. That's not
No,
going to
that's not
happen.
gonna ever happen.
And so I remember this, I remember that, you know, eggs are this much. Look, it's not going back. It's from where it was a year ago to now. That inflation is really coming back in line. Now, one place where we are seeing housing costs are becoming really, really difficult is for our renters. Rent growth has outpaced income gains for renters by a large margin. We're seeing that is a pain point. So, we keep hearing a lot of folks like, I'm just going to stay in rent. I'm just going to stay in rent. Okay, that's more painful, right, than actually buying a home, because the other thing that's happening is right now home prices are rising at the slowest pace in a year and a half, right? So here in, overall, if you look in the United States, home pricing across the US is flat right now, month over month. And here in the Atlanta region, it was 0.1%. A tenth of a percent is what we saw. And actually, we're basically flat for the year right now here in Georgia. So when you look at, we've got inflation coming down, these other kind of things going on, and we're seeing where pricing on residential real estate is really holding steady. It's looking a lot better for folks to buy right now. In addition, the European Bank just dropped their federal funds rate on here. So things are looking a lot good. Now, one thing, one thing we have heard some folks talking about is that, especially millennials will talk about how boomers had it so easy when like it was so easy when you bought a home. You bought homes for $50,000-$60,000, and that, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but there's a new study out which went through and shared the percentage of income needed to make a payment on a new mortgage. And if you look at the area in the green, those are what percentages of people's income they had to use in order to buy a home. Now,
at one point it's 50% over.
Yeah.
So
we agree that it's been more difficult for our millennials over the past 5 or 6 years. I'm not going to say that's not true, that we, and you can see on here that housing costs have been dropping, and then they've rapidly shot up over the last 5 or 6 years. And that's very true. But please don't think that it's way like oh my gosh, it's the worst it's ever been, right? Like that's not.
It's not.
And so we're Gen Xers. We're not boomers. We're not trying to stand up for okay boomer kind of thing. But it really is true. We're seeing that out there. So we're seeing where some folks are taking the point of like, well, it just can't be done. It's impossible. There's no way that this is the hardest time in the world to buy a home. And I'm not saying it's not challenging. Please, I'm not trying to be cold or anything like that. But seriously, it depends on how bad you want it and what's important.
If you look at it, Boomer basically rearranged their financial obligation to make it work. So for them, when they bought their home, it was actually more.
Our buyers right now are doing the same thing.
Right. And so our buyer just have to be educated, say, listen, these are the options. This is what you can do, and this is your benefit. And, there's always cost of opportunity. Okay. So you look at what your cost is versus the opportunity that you have to see whether or not that works.
Now, well, I can hit the right button here. Now, on the good news, interest rates came down again. We're seeing interest rates continuing to move lower. We're not happy with where they are, but they are moving into a more.
It is a little higher 1 year change. If you look at year to year, it's 0.2, but for week change, it's negative 0.08.
Yeah. Now, one other good piece of news as far as like, primarily when it comes to interest rate, not interest rates, FICO scores, is that the CFPB has put out a new proposed rules here that they want to stop medical bills from hitting credit reports. And so largely because there's a lot of people that are being forced to pay medical bills or else hurt their credit, and they may not necessarily even owe those bills. So there's been a big deal about that, which is really nice moving forward.
There's some medical bills that are duplicate, and sometimes if you don't know what your expenses are, you probably pay more than what you should.
Now, the other thing that we're seeing especially in the mortgage world here is a lot of talk about assumable mortgages, but what we want to talk to you about on assumable mortgages is not so much on the buy side.
The pros and cons.
Well, yeah, but also like there's a great opportunity. Like right now we're seeing more listings come on the market. We'll talk about that in just a minute. However, right now, roughly 25%, basically a quarter of of the existing mortgages in the market are assumable.
Correct.
However, only 0.4 of all listings nationwide even mention that the listing may have an assumable mortgage. And let's just be clear, for assumable mortgages, the challenge with assumable mortgages is that you have to pay whatever that equity that homeowner has, you got to pay that down in cash up front. And so assumable mortgages are not perfect for everybody. However, it is a negotiation point. It is something that your sellers can offer. It doesn't cost your sellers anything to do.
There might be some risk involved.
And there are a lot of sellers. I mean, there are a lot of buyers. We're seeing a ton of if you have move up buyers and they're coming and they're moving and they have a lot of equity, there could definitely be an opportunity here. So just don't miss out on the fact that your listing, if your listing does have an assumable mortgage on it, is that something that you could be marketing that home with to really
attract buyers. So with assumable mortgage, instead of paying almost 7% interest, if they're paying 3.5%, that's half of what they will be paying in open market. So what happened is that instead of being for a 325,000, you may be able for a $400,000 home, and the monthly payment is still the same. Understand there are risks for both seller and the buyer should assumable loan goes
it depends
down.
on the lender,
So
though.
it just depends on
It
the
is
lender
highly dependent on the lender.
and also the equity that's built into the
Yep.
property. So the more equity it is, the more skin in the game the
Yeah.
buyer has.
We're not saying that it's this,
It's not a magic pill, but it is an option.
Absolutely. So right now, we are one of the 5 major markets that have the biggest year-over-year increase in new listings. So we come in at number 5, which is a good thing. And so right now, if you look at overall the number of active homes this year versus 5 years ago is, down 35%. However, new listings total inventory right now is up 54% from last year. So over the last year, we have increased inventory by over half. We're still down 35% where we were pre-COVID kind of thing. So we are heading towards a more balanced market.
Even with down inventory, the only problem that I see where a lot of people think still the seller's market is that affordability. So if you have folks that are unable to afford that price point, even though there's more inventory, you may have a little lesser buyers.
Right, but what we're seeing here is that we have a market that's shifting towards a more balanced place.
And normally that takes 6 months, but that's not the case. I don't foresee that being the case.
Well, we're seeing where pricing is already starting to soften and it's really stabilizing.
And if you have a pricing that's way too high, yes, your home's gonna be sitting in the market for a while.
Yep.
And if you have a pricing that just right, I can tell you it's gone within 2 weeks.
Yeah. So even that being said, the average equity this year from last year is up $22,000. And overall, what percentage of homes that are underwater here in Georgia? 1.7%, and not even underwater. These are just properties that have negative equity, right? It's not that, normally that number is way higher kind of thing. But the homes that have any negative equity, 1.7%, like 99 homes out of 100 have equity. That's a really good place for our sellers to be. So right now, the biggest shortages in the nation can really be found in coastal markets. But right now, we are, as far as on a ratio, we're at 1.9 versus 1 so basically we're short housing, right? Overall, nationwide, we're short 4.5 million houses, and that's up from 4.3. So it's actually getting worse. And 2023 was the strongest year for building since 2007, but we were building way more than that prior to 2007. And so we're not building enough homes. Not only are we short housing, we're short more housing this year than we were last year. And then let's throw a little bit of salt on the wounds, housing starts fell. So new construction, the number of new construction homes that we began dropped even more. In part,
Affordability.
well, our builders are not feeling really,
Well, that's because they
they're not
can't build
feeling
a
great.
product right now. That's where it's a first time home buyer product.
The builders are feeling interest rates as much as our buyers are, and that's why so many of our builders are buying down rates. And you know, we know that that's what's really going on. You know, here in the Atlanta market, you can see that, you know, right now our current level of single family permits is 26,000. Our average is normally almost 30,000 a year. So we are still significantly lower than where we wanted to be, or than where we need to be. So even though I see inventory improving, that's a really good thing for us to be. Overall, we are still short housing. So please don't look for, you know, some sort of, we're not looking at any sort of market crash. We are seeing where, yes, inventory is increasing. Yes, more, you know, interest rates are coming down, but there is still a ton of pent up demand in our market.
And would a
Yeah.
seller start reducing price because they know affordability is an issue? Smart ones are. There are some that still holding tight to their every what they feel like their house is worth.
Yeah. So now, there's a recent agent study out there asking, you know, like how worried are you about your business in light of the changes? And basically across the board, we go from, man, we are really worried to we don't care at all. And we're kind of, I mean, like there's more people that are not worried than the people
Well,
who are extremely worried,
honestly,
which is interesting.
the one that not worry is the one that's been practicing 9 out of 10, what I consider correctly, meaning they follow procedure and guideline and they got all their docs up front, so there's no issue about where the compensation is.
Right.
But the one that are really worried are the one that um during the downturn in market is wasn't unusual that we hear, you know, from a buyer perspective, that you don't pay anything, the seller is. And
Well,
that is traditionally the way real estate works, and that is part of purchasing price. But you know, it still holds true somewhat still today, but it's now a negotiation point.
well, we're seeing where a lot of folks are taking this, you know, the settlement, the NAR settlement as one, a way to update their business practices, and two, to
Correct.
really embrace this and grow market share.
Correct.
Like the really great realtors and agents here are not the ones who are screaming and crying and worried, right? Because they're working in this every single day. It's the folks who aren't prepared, who don't want to change. They're the ones who are going to have a hard time moving forward. You know, like the biggest need when asked in this same survey was, you know, what do you feel is your biggest need in preparing for that? Marketing and messaging. How do I talk to my clients? How do I communicate with my clients, you know? And then what would be the most valuable thing that your company or broker could hand you with? Sales training, coaching, role playing, that kind of stuff. And so we want to encourage you. One thing that we're doing is we do accountability every Monday morning at 9:30. And this is our time for sales training, coaching, role playing, all those kind of things. So that's what we really try and jump into. We're going to be doing that again this morning at 9:30, every Monday morning at 9:30. Please consider joining us for that.
And just remember, accountability is exactly what it means. Okay, it's gonna hold you accountable.
I'll put you on the spot. Yeah.
They may be tired of uncomfortableness, but hopefully that will help you. We're not here to. It's a constructive criticism. This is not a finger
Yeah.
pointing. It's for you to realize, okay, this is what I'm missing out. This is what I need to do.
Yeah. Now this week we've got tomorrow I'm teaching the ultimate listing system in the McDonough office here. And then the marvelous Martin, he's going to be taking over business planning. That's going to be in Fayetteville office on Wednesday. On Thursday, we have two classes. So realtors and auctions, which is going to be in our Noonan office. That's a really neat class talking
It
about
is a very
how to
neat
do
class.
auctions. And then I'll also be teaching fast top dollar home sales with staging. That's going to be at the Fayette Board of Realtors. So I'll be there on Thursday.
And we also have some lunch and learn this week as well, talking about the guard foreign dissection. I believe Collier's doing one on Thursday,
Okay.
and I
Lots
think
of things happening on
McDonald's
Thursday.
doing one on Friday. So please join us. If you want to know what the major changes are, call the office and ask for the branch manager, and they can get you signed up.
Yeah. So thanks everyone. If we can
Thank
give any
you.
kind of service, please call, text, smoke signals. We'll talk
Thank
to you
you,
soon.
and have a great Monday.
Bye now.